We're live for our latest Vitrina podcast, part of our LeaderSpeak series. We're speaking today to Guido Rud, who's joining us all the way from Argentina. Guido, I'm assuming you're in Buenos Aires at this point.
Yes, in the brand new branches offices from FilmSharks, in the new FilmSharks building that we just moved here just 10 days ago.
Congratulations. And Guido, is founder CEO of FilmSharks International, one of the top Ibero-American distribution and production companies. Is that the right way, Guido, that you introduce the company?
You know, it's a matter of perceptions. Of course, we are a hardworking company, and I had a professor in the university that in Spanish we have different ways of use the verb being, and we say that companies are not big or small; they are in a momentum, big or small. So it's very fluctuating, and you never know. Like we always struggle, like everybody, to make our best year, but then the market has the limits, and yourself too, because you sometimes you think something is gonna work and it doesn't. It's life, But
That's right.
we are one of the flagship companies from the Ibero-American market, that I could say, because we are very prominent and we are like very active. But I would not like the word big or small. It's something that it's a term that I prefer not to use, or in order to be humble as well.
That's right. That's right. But Guido, thank you so much for talking to the Vitrina community. Just to give you a quick perspective, your voice is going across to 100 countries. Our members actually are in 100 countries, and these are all leaders and experts and thought leaders within the entertainment supply chain. So your message is actually going to reach the right folks today. Thank you so much for talking to us, and congratulations on the new offices. Just to get us started, would be awesome to actually sort of give an elevator pitch or a introduction to FilmSharks International. Just a little bit about how the journey started and where the company is today in the ecosystem.
We started 25 years ago, and we started as a brand that started doing international sales of what would be the new wave of Argentinian cinema. I know you know that there were many important waves of international voices on the filmmaking arena, and one of them were Iranian new wave of filmmakers that now, of course, many of them are very established now. And also it happened with the new wave of Argentinian cinema. And we took, let's say, advantage of that, and also knowing that in 2001, Argentina had a very before 2001, they have an economical system where Argentina was very expensive, and the exchange rate was 1-on-1 on the local currency, and was not in the mind of any businessman from Argentina to export rather than to import. It was a mentality on those days, 25 years ago. It was more an inbound market than an export market. And suddenly, after 9/11 and everything that happened worldwide, Argentina collapsed and crashed the economic crisis in 2001. And I was working in a business that allowed me to do international business across many territories. And I studied cinema, I studied media and TV. And I always wonder, apart from I have a degree in business, and then I have also studies in cinema and TV. And I always thought I was working in an industry when I was 26 years ago, before I started FilmSharks, where I was traveling worldwide. I didn't see much of Latin American cinema those days. And I thought, why? Like, when you have an international business head, you start asking yourself some questions. And because I studied cinema and the Argentinian economy changed, I thought, this is a very good moment to start exporting films, and I don't see many people doing that. So because of all my contacts coming from the film school that I study, and like I study film with Damian Cifron, the director of Wild Tales. I don't know if it was in the Oscars. Then I studied with Ariel Winograd, director of many films that you know, like No Kids or 10 Days Without Mom. 10 Days Without Mom is one of the largest franchises worldwide as an IP today, including Spain, with
Wow.
Sony. They're doing the number one, the number five sequel on the original IP that this guy created. So basically, I had a lot of connections, and I started building a catalog to export Argentinian cinema worldwide, taking advantage on the new wave of Argentinian filmmakers. We had a film called Felicidades, that was in the Academy Awards in 2001. And then we had Damian Cifron's first feature film called that was premiered in San Sebastian, called The Bottom of the Ocean. When you expand, everybody, hey, look, there is a Chilean filmmaker that was in San Sebastian with another film, or in Toronto with a film that we have, or in Venice, and they thought, oh, we don't have a sales agent that we feel connected to, because there were many companies from the UK, from the US, from France, but there were not many companies doing this from Latin America those days. And there was a big connection, and there were people needing on a good, on a very well done international sales distribution shop uh, on filmmakers that were from all over Latin America and Spain. And that's how we started the expansion. And basically, uh, when we started the expansion, we started working with big companies, including Disney-owned Patagonic Film Group. They are very famous because produced Nine Queens, Son of the Bride, and A Boyfriend for My Wife. And what happened with A Boyfriend for My Wife, that the film was in development in 2006, 2007, they shoot the film, and we were working with them, and we thought, this it's an amazing high concept for a remake. Why? Because
Hmm.
very it's a young couple that they live together, but the wife doesn't stop talking. She's super annoying all the time, speaking, speaking, speaking. Like, why don't you wash your teeth? Why don't you go the shopping for the groceries before 5 p.m. because you can get better fruit? Why don't you do this, that, that, that? And all the time, and the mind of the guy
Hmm.
said, you know, speaking with his colleagues in football, playing football, say, look, I want a divorce, but I don't dare to divorce her. She will break down. I don't want to hurt. And people from football, they say, you know what you need? You need someone that seduces your wife and get rid of her. You get rid of her by someone seducing your wife. And the guys, but I don't know anyone. And they know, oh, we know Juan Galan, we one Don Juan, that he's a killer with ladies. He doesn't forgive anyone. He's amazing with ladies. All the ladies melt to him. What's his name? And then you see the guy, and the guy it's like a fat, bald head guy, ugly. I said, this is the killer. Trust him. And then it's happy, right? That's why a boyfriend for my wife. You expect like the typical good-looking guy that will be hired for seduce, and then the guy's horrible. And but the guy's so cool. He listens to the lady, and he's all the time smiling, and you know, and he gets her to fall in love. So then the ending of the film is very beautiful, because the guy, when he's seeing her again, kind of happy, he's happy again because she's happy. And then they get happy together, and he's about to lose her because the other guy's in the middle. And then he realizes that he doesn't want to lose her because he felt in love with her, when she was a refreshing and smiling person. And it's a method for that. We have to work over relationships all the time, because it's not that your wife or my girlfriend, or it's that they are getting shyer or bitter, or aggressive. It's a system, you know. It's if someone smiles, it's a contagious energy. So it's a beautiful film. The film ended up being remade everywhere, including China, in everywhere. And in Korea, it made 5 million tickets. It became like an outstanding hit.
Wow.
And then we decided to open a sub label called the Remake Company. And we thought we're gonna be the number one company getting IP from the world and selling IP from the world. And that's how we started the Remake Company.
Hey,
Yep. And
fascinating.
2007 Remake Company, getting involved in a lot of project, people telling me, why don't you come on board as a producer and we produce this together, because you have a lot of excellent IP. And from executive producer, I started producing more and more. Now it's one of the three biggest business models that we work on. We have business model number one, world sales; business model number two, remake distribution; and business model number three, production. Basically, production, we decided not to expand and try to do what everybody was doing, like opening offices everywhere. We decided to make it in a realistic way, where we can focus in Argentina, Mexico, and Spain, which are the main territories for Spanish language cinema. Making films for Mexico connects you to the US in the production side. We made a film last year with Hulu. Hulu is Disney,
Hmm.
and it was a Mexican film, the first US Hispanic film they kind of finance in a almost not fully financed, but in a great percentage of financing.
Okay.
And and of course that triggered a lot of people that they saw a film that we produced for the US Hispanic audiences. Then we did many films for Televisa Univision platform VIX. We did a film called that was made, that film Abracadabra, that it's a film that we made for Disney US, penetrate very well, and many people were like, "Oh, this is a very excellent filmmaking, storyline, and production value and everything." But not only because today you see a lot of hours of cinema everywhere, so the people think that, oh, it looks great, art direction is great, DP is great, and then you're done, like, but they forget that storytelling, it's storytelling. And I learned, even though that if the story is great, you can forget that the format, the production value over the DP is not as great as you want. I personally believe that everything has to be in a very high standard, because there is a lot of competition. And if you don't buy them a few minutes of quality on the production value, it's difficult to get someone engaged. But it's like a boyfriend for my wife. This guy is so ugly, but he's so good in connecting, that he makes her forget that he's horrible. This is the same with cinema.
Mhm.
The storytelling is so good that in 10 minutes you can be inside any format, including Dogville, the film from Lars von Trier. There are no scenarios. There is nothing. Everything is in your mind. You build a story, you are inside, and then you forget that there is just everything in the floor, like crayons in the floor. So
Right.
then when of course, you ask me which is my superpower, uh, hardworking, I would say. But hardworking also means being very committed to making an excellent storyline and a refreshing story. Like, we announced a story in all the traits that we're gonna shoot a film that I'm gonna tell you the plot, and you will see why we are betting so hard on innovation and refreshing storylines. And that comes on the same trend. Like, okay, that US film and another film that we did for Netflix in 2023 that was released in most of the world in 2024, including Televisa Univision platform called Pix in the US and Latin America, also did very well. And many things did very well, and people start seeing what we do. We now have in post production 3 films. One is a huge sci fi creature film with fantasy adventure that, on a level and value of production that you will see in a studio film like Alien or Predator, this kind of top line studio film that if you see the logo of a major studio before the film begins, you think, oh, this is studio film. And this is a sci fi creature with aliens and truly well produced. And then we had another horror film in post production that we produced with a platform in Europe. And and suddenly you find yourself immersed into the production business, which is not only having the ability of putting together an amazing team that works, creative team that works, but going beforehand into creating a storyline that refreshes.
Right. That is fascinating actually to understand. And then you know, I think one aspect that I wanted to sort of understand a little bit better was this the world sales that you talked about, which is the number one business for you. Um, you've been actually very successful with that. FilmSharks International now has customers across multiple major markets. Of course, Argentina, US is big for you. Mexico, we saw some deals in Taiwan. We saw some deals in multiple European markets. What's the secret of that? How's that developed to a network now? And the other question was, what kind of content is it that you are sort of focusing on from for world sales? Is it largely Argentinian content, or is it from all over South America that you are sort of representing? Okay, if you can talk a little bit about that part.
Look, I think everything takes you to everywhere because, for example, we are selling a film called 55, and it's an Indian US co production. And that film has been sold everywhere. And it's an Indian film. It's 2025. It's going to be theatrically released next month in the US with Weaver distribution, later in digital across the US. The film is co-produced by Ridley Scott, so it's Ridley Scott's Presents, so it's Scott's Free Productions. And the film has been sold very widely internationally, and it's an Indian film spoken in Hindi and a little bit of English. When you see a great storyline that flies internationally, and you have the connection because you know exactly what every single buyer on earth buys. You know whether they buy horror and fantasy, or you have the buyers that only go to prestige cinema. Then you have the ones that they go for full commercial fare and they go into Hollywood driven films, and also they dare to buy a local language hit from anywhere, from Spain, from China, and the key element it's to meet people in person.
That's right. That's right. So, that is fascinating. I mean, again, just exciting IP that is now sort of turned into a production. I have two questions actually related. One is, which are the new territories that you are sort of looking at expanding into? And then the second, yeah, new countries, new territories that you're looking at expanding into. And the second one is, what in on the remake business, what how many IPs do you actually have in your catalog that you are looking for people to license or option?
In the film catalog, we have much more films than in the remake catalog. But in the remake catalog, it's not that we have less it's because we cherry pick what is good from the catalog that could be also be appealing for remake. And there are many cases like the film from Chile, No Filter, that we saw the original feature film. We liked it a lot, but because of their production style and everything, we thought could be good for platform and not for international sales. In that particular case, along other particular cases, we just took alone the remake rights. So the remake catalog sometimes does not go hand to hand with the world sales catalog. In 99% of the new films, we take both world sales and remake rights. But in many cases, there are many films that we do not match both catalogs. And in the remake catalog, we have over 300 films, and we do not throw them in their face of anyone. We know exactly what they're looking for. We know that companies are more focusing to comedies, more there are prestige films that are to be made by certain companies, so we give them more touching stories or life affirming, tearjerker kind of cinematic experiences into them. So for us, it's
Wow.
much more into a curated experience of making the client that we understand what they are looking for. It's not very easy because sometimes, because they don't want to see, it's really very difficult for them to watch many films. We give them films that they are amazingly well crafted as a high concept idea, and they just watch the trailer, and maybe it's being made for the local market and not in an international way for them to understand the story in the trailer. So we insist them in many times, look, if we are pushing this, it's not because we are pushing this, it means that we feel it's for you and you should watch the full film, because sometimes trailers do not reflect, because they were made for the local market and long time ago, and world change, the narrative. There are many things that, including today, when you see a film like Matrix or 300 and you see an action scene when the guy goes on slow motion, like, and now you see that and it's not trendy, it's old. You know what I mean? Like, everything changed now. So it's another way of storytelling. So maybe you show someone that a film with a lot of slow motion when someone hits someone, like, and that's all. It doesn't work today.
Right. Fascinating. And then about the territories, which are the countries that you would love to have? Again, we have members across multiple markets, and are there any territories and countries that you are wanting to expand into for your business?
No, I know China is coming back. It's not that I would like to expand to China. I would like to get China back on the game like we had in the past, and relearn who is really active in China, which is something that we are doing now. Like, China marketplace changed a lot. There are, like, 5 years ago, we were doing a deal with Agbo when they had their office in China, and Sony in China. They don't have the office anymore. So there are other companies in China that we are dealing with now. So we have to relearn Chinese market post pandemic. It's a post pandemic market. And also there are Russia. Russia has
That's
been
right.
very active for us, very prominent, but they are there. It's never like Italy's going down. You have to be, France. It's always kind of stable, but it's challenging everywhere. It's challenging everywhere.
Right. Right, right. And then, if some of our members actually want to connect with you and FilmSharks International for the remake catalog or the
They
licensing
can call.
catalog,
They can call.
what's the
They can
best way
call
to
us.
connect?
No, you everywhere there. You find us in every single information on the set, on the website, on Sinando, IMDb. our website on Instagram at filmsharks.com, on Facebook or www.filmsharks.com, or they can write to Alpha with PH at filmsharks.com. That's the main company email that it's been the main point of connection, and then they will redirect to the right party depending on the subject. And it for depending for the Indian territory, there is a Federico Pasqua running it for the catalog. They can write to Federico at filmsharks.com. And thank you so much for everything. It was a great interview, my friend. I enjoyed connecting.